Darth Vader is the main character in Star Wars, but somehow it still feels like we need more, and I'm pretty sure we all want more. So here's my pitch for more in the form of a Vader solo movie or series. I realise that this could also work as a series, so let me know which one you think it would work best as. Now obviously I haven't written just like a full-on script, but I've got a summary of what like most of the plot would be, as well as like some specific scenes like detailed out as well. So let's get started. Now Vader, despite being a villain, the most iconic villain of all time by the way, is not going to be perceived as a villain in this movie. And what I mean by that isn't that he's not going to do anything evil. I mean that he's going to be the protagonist, similar to, say, Thanos in Infinity War, but with even more screen time and less screen time of all the other characters trying to stop him. And he will also be the protagonist in terms of the way the antagonist, despite being the good guy, is portrayed in this movie too. So he's going to be pure evil, but we're also going to get some moments of sympathy with Vader too, which will of course make the person trying to stop him seem evil as well. Now as for the antagonist, you have to hear me out here, and don't worry, I have an alternative character if you're not happy with this, because it's Mace Windu. Now I know, most people don't want to bring Mace back, but he does offer something unique to this story that no one else can. And that is because Anakin/Vader is the one that cut off Mace's hand, that stopped Mace from killing Palpatine, that caused pretty much everything, and caused Mace Windu to fly out the Mace window. So Mace would want revenge on Anakin for this, and I know that the Jedi Code doesn't necessarily like allow revenge, but times have changed and someone needs to stop Vader, and Mace Windu thinks that it has to be him, and he is the one best suited to do so. And that is why he will be hunting Vader down in this movie. And yes, Mace Windu will be hunting Vader down in this movie. Now the very first scene of the movie will show us this, because it will be Mace Windu set right after like falling out of the window, and it'll be pretty similar to, you know, Gore's opening scene in Thor: Love and Thunder, where we like learn why he wants to do what he's doing, but with one slight change. This scene will actually be good. So we see Mace falling out the window. He's unconscious. Halfway down, he regains consciousness, and he uses the Force to break his fall, just like, say, Anakin and Ahsoka did in the Clone Wars. But of course, Mace is weak from what happened, so he can only somewhat break his fall, and he hits the floor hard. Then all we see from there is the expression on his face, and that tells us everything we need to know. The screen goes black, and we jump forward a couple years. The amount of years isn't that important, just whenever it would work for the continuity. Now after this, we start in like the actual year that this movie's going to take place, with Vader versus Quinlan Vos. And Quinlan Vos is the alternate character to Mace Windu because of how powerful Quinlan Vos is, and then you would just swap Vos's character in this movie for another random Order 66 survivor. I interrupt this video to give you the best brand deal you're ever going to hear. Do you like lightsabers? Of course you do. So let me tell you a story about Saber Masters. They were nice enough to send me their 2 best in-hilt lightsabers. An in-hilt saber is basically a lightsaber where the light comes from within the hilt that you hold, meaning you can whack stuff with it and it will be absolutely fine. Here's just a demonstration of how good it is. This is the previous lightsaber that I owned, and this is the Saber Masters one. It is significantly brighter, it has a wide range of colours and sound fonts. If you want to get yourself some of these lightsabers, you can get 20% off when you use code Joseph. And of course that also supports me. On with the video. Vos is pretty much the last Jedi survivor that is deemed to be a significant threat that isn't Obi-Wan, Yoda or Ahsoka, because this is someone that bested Count Dooku. Now Vader is absolutely destroying him in this fight, and he ends up defeating him, and as Vader is leaving the planet where this fight takes place, Mace Windu is just arriving. And this continues throughout the movie. Vader is hunting down the very last of the Order 66 surviving Jedi because he has grown sick of the failures of the Inquisitors, and Mace Windu is slowly catching up. After Vader destroys Vos, Mace actually finds the remains of his former Jedi, and in that moment truly realizes how strong Vader actually is, because like I said, Vos is someone who defeated Dooku, and he's been left in pieces. So Mace comes to the realization that not only does he need to catch up to and hunt Vader, he needs to prepare for this fight because it will not be easy. And he carries on his pursuit of Vader, and instead of fighting him as soon as he catches up properly, he watches. And he watches again Vader slaughter Jedi, but Mace is learning. Mace is the one best suited to take down this beast, so Mace needs to give himself the best chance of doing so, and he does that by learning Vader's fighting style. And every time that Mace watches Vader, both Mace and Vader can be seen taking a moment to stop and think, as they both realize something about each other but neither of them realize that they're doing so, if that makes any sense. Mace's realization is that it's Anakin Skywalker under the mask, and his reaction to this is a mix of many emotions. At first, it's panic, it's fear, it's sadness at what Anakin Skywalker has become, and then it's followed by a smile. And we will learn about what Vader realizes in this moment later on. So in this movie, Mace Windu's arc is going to be going from effectively sacrificing other Jedi to benefit himself, benefit his chance against Darth Vader, as we learn that he feels that he is best suited out of all the survivors to take on this beast, to eventually sacrificing himself to save another Jedi when he realizes that he is still not strong enough to do so, and that all the Jedi that he's watched die, all the Jedi that he's sacrificed, has been for nothing. So obviously what you can tell from that is when he eventually decides to jump in and fight Vader, he does so before he kills the Jedi that he's fighting, so then the both of them fight Vader, and then Mace allows that other Jedi to escape. Obviously I've just spoiled the ending, but trust me, there is much more to this. At the moment, this movie lacks plot. It's just Vader killing and Mace watching, and it also hardly seems like Vader is the main character of this story. It more seems like a Mace Windu movie, but I said that Vader was going to be the protagonist. So what else is Vader doing in this time? Vader is seeking a way to bring back his beloved, his former wife, Padme Amidala, but he is simply not strong enough to do so, so he needs to continue fighting, continue hunting, continue killing Jedi, and further immerse himself in the dark side. And as well as hunting Jedi, he's also hunting knowledge in the form of old artifacts, holocrons, temples, etc, etc. We see throughout this movie that Vader attempts and fails to resurrect Padme, and we see how he feels about this both in the form of anger whilst he's in his suit raging, and also sorrow whilst he's healing in his back to tank. And that is how we will feel sympathy for Vader in this movie, how we will root for Vader despite being the villain in this movie, and that's how he's going to be the protagonist. We will be rooting for Vader against Mace Windu, or at least we're meant to be. Eventually, of course, Vader and Mace will fight, but this will only be once and at the very end, because we don't need to see Mace have multiple action sequences in this movie like, say, Marvel characters do in their own Marvel movie. They have an action sequence at the start, the middle, and the end, because this isn't Mace's movie. We are seeing action from Vader, the main character, at the start with Quinlan Vos, throughout the whole middle killing other Jedi, and at the end against Mace Windu. 3 lots of action sequences with Vader, because this is Vader's movie. Now, speaking of the end of this movie, when the final battle takes place, where does it take place? Well, it takes place at the temple of the tomb of Padme Amidala, where Vader plans to carry out the resurrection, and this is for a few reasons. Number one, Vader is arrogant and he thinks that he will easily be able to take out the Jedi that he leads to Padme's tomb. Yes, he's going to lead a Jedi to Padme's tomb. I'll explain more on that in a minute. And will still easily be able to take out Mace Windu, who he knows is following him. That is Vader's realization from earlier. He senses Mace is watching, and he also senses that Mace isn't planning to attack him yet, so he doesn't attack him either. And of course, Mace Windu does not know that Vader knows that he's following him. And secondly, in order to succeed in the ritual of, like, resurrecting Padme, of course Vader's tried a couple times before, but he wasn't powerful enough, so how can he be the most powerful he possibly can? Well, he's going to be at the pinnacle of power right after he's had a fight, right after he's killed some Jedi, because that is when he'll be most immersed in the dark side, especially when he's against 2 of them, and especially when one of them is Mace Windu, because that's going to be a very challenging fight, and he's really going to have to call on the dark side to make him as powerful as possible in that fight. He's really going to have to use his emotions. And Mace is also someone that Anakin personally disliked, at least a little bit, towards the end of the Clone Wars, so his emotions are going to be fueling him so much in that fight. So this is actually quite smart from Vader. He truly will be at the absolute pinnacle of power at the very end of this fight after he's defeated Mace Windu and this other Jedi, if he manages to do so. Now, how I imagine this fight is going to go is Vader is attacking this other Jedi, and then Mace Windu drops down, imagining that he's got the element of surprise, but Vader catches him mid-air in a force choke. After he's done this, the other Jedi is also caught in a force choke, and Vader has got both of them right where he wants them. Eventually, they both break out, they fight some more, and we very quickly realize that Vader was extending the fight against this first Jedi on purpose, and can in reality very quickly deal with him, and he is dominating both Mace and this other Jedi. As mentioned, Mace will eventually sacrifice himself to save this other Jedi, and this will come in the form of Mace actually trapping himself in with Vader by collapsing a part of the temple and trapping this other Jedi away. Vader will eventually, like, kill Mace Windu, but because of the destruction that Mace has already caused to this temple, it causes the whole place to collapse. And because of this, Vader can't resurrect Padme. And as the other Jedi that was in this fight senses Mace Windu dying, he also leaves because he knows that he can't take on Vader. Of course, let me know what you think of this. I personally quite liked it. I understand that it's definitely not as fleshed out as it should be, but little details like conversations that Vader will have with like Palpatine in the middle of the movie didn't seem that relevant for the plot, so I left them out pretty much. If you enjoyed this, then let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. YouTube thinks you'll like this video the most next, so check it out. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.